I need to pull your coat to the fact that the black and African American vote, since we're in the presidential election season, is perhaps the most critical vote. While they're a minority, they hold the balance of power, the black or the African American. And by the way, they're not either, they're Hamites, but those are determinations that came about in the 1970s where the colored or the Negro person began to call themselves black and demand black power. And then a decade or so later, Jesse Jackson came in his run for the 1984 presidential bid when Jesse ran for president, Jesse Jackson, that he changed the terminology to African Americans. And so basically, there's an interchange when you're trying to identify Hamite people. But they hold the key to whatever this election portends is held by them. But I want to explain a couple of things. I think it's important that we understand the dilemma. Let me ask you a question. Let me open up your understanding this way. Let's say, for instance, there's a nation, right, that goes into another continent and takes away millions of people and brings them to their nation and forces them into labor, puts them in chains, makes them effectively slaves. Unlike the Jews who went willingly down into Egypt. No ships took them there, they just went out into Egypt. But let's say, for instance, a nation is vicious enough to do that, right? They go to another nation, by hook or crook, or whatever reason, bring other people from that nation, by the millions, to their nation, make them work their fields, make their beds, cook their meals, build their houses, etc., and pay them no money. In fact, they're called slaves and abuse them in whatever way they choose to do so. Treat them ill-treat them, hang them if they don't like. Don't give them justice, right? Let me ask you a question. If you knew of a nation that did that, right? If you knew of a nation that did that and allegedly castrated people, hung people, brutalized people, separated families, killed people, worked people from sun up to sundown, they can't see, and didn't pay them and marginalized them, didn't educate them, didn't write their history. If you knew a nation that did that to a people, if you knew a nation that did that to a people, would you be wanting to go to that nation? Would you be trying to get a passport if you were from the nation where the millions of people were extracted, violently or otherwise, right? Put on ships and brought to a nation where they were enslaved, their children were enslaved and they're ill-treated. Would you be trying to come to that nation of your own free will if you believed that that nation was so awful? Would you be trying to come to that nation on your own free will? I don't think so. I know I wouldn't. I mean, if I believe, and of course, I'm talking about America and Africa, but do you know how many Africans are trying to get to America now on their own free will? You heard the joke about the scientists that were in Africa in one of the nations doing some work over there, and some of the African leaders told the white men that were Americans, Yankee, go home and take me with you. No, I mean, think about the absurdity of the moronic mixed sausage brain mind of the black man. Because he says that America did him wrong. But I swear everywhere you look, he's trying to get to the place of slavery. He wants to come to America. Eddie Murphy, remember Eddie Murphy? And coming to America? He wants to come to Eddie Murphy didn't want to look for a bride in his own kingdom. No, he wanted to find a bride in America, the land of slaves, the land of castration, the land of rape, the land of absolute horror towards the black man is where Eddie Murphy wanted to find his wife in the movie Coming to America. Something's wrong with the sausage brain. Something's wrong. If it's true that America is so bad, why is it that Africa wants to get here? If it's so bad. I'm not trying to get back in rape or prison. Things were not as bad there as one may think. Sausage bring, sausage bring, sausage bring, because it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. If America's so horrible, why is it that Africans are trying to get here? Well, maybe America's not as bad as they say. Maybe it's the people that were brought here that are horrible. Yeah. They want to get to the institutions. They want to work on the jobs. No, see, he can't even logically see the absurdity of his own argument. Black Lives Matter, Al Sharpton, they can't even see the absurdity of their own argument. They can't see the absurdity of it. They don't have the intellectual strength to take it to the next level and say, wait a minute, if America's so bad, why the hell are we trying to get in there? And we'll do anything to get there. So I think it's important that we recognize a couple of things about the sausage bring. Black man, African American. He's a Hamite. He refused to admit what I just said to you. He'll try to mitigate it by saying, well, you know, America's not so bad. Now, wait a minute. I thought you said the Trayvon Martin. I thought you Michael Brown. I thought, Jacob Blake. I thought. By the way, have y'all ever heard of a woman named Eleanor Bumpurs? No, you haven't, have you? See, I've been around a long time. Eleanor Bumpurs was a grandmother that lived in the Bronx. I don't know where the South Bronx, one of the projects up on Jackson Avenue, someplace around there. Eleanor Bumpurs. Police went to her house for some reason. I forget what the reason was now. Grandmother. And they killed her. They shot her. A grandmother. Talking about police brutality. This was long before Amadou Diallo, long before Abner Louima. I was a part of the Baptist Ministers Conference at the time, and we gave Ed Koch hell for police killing Eleanor Bumpurs. Look her up. Eleanor Bumpurs. Projects in the Bronx. So the deal is this. Is that he refuses to admit, well, if America is so bad, if white people are so bad, Michael Jordan, why you want to live around them? I mean, if white people are so bad, Van Jones, why you marry a white woman? I mean, if white people are so damn bad, why don't you go back to Africa? Why? Because they're not, and you know it. So if it isn't them, maybe it's you. But he is totally and completely incapable, and he refuses to admit that. He won't admit that. Now, I've just laid out for you a truth. You say, Pastor Man, it's not that simplistic. Why isn't it? You tell me. You give me some other reason. What mitigates it? What? You tell me. What mitigates it? Well, if I don't see anybody, I don't see the people who were brought here who always talking about slavery, trying to go back to Africa. I don't see anybody, I don't see not one damn person, not one damn person, not one damn ghetto dweller, not one damn black man I've seen yet say, I want to go home to Africa. I've seen one yet. Not one. Not one. If America's so bad, why the hell don't you go home? Go back to Africa. Not one. Ain't even crossed their damn minds to go back to Africa. They don't want to go back there. Hell, they'd rather go to jail than go to Africa. And everybody knows. Then they won't admit it. Sausage brain. So, white man did you wrong. White man did me wrong. And I think the other item is this, of course, he won't admit it. He needs to stand up and say, God bless America. By the way, all these athletes, right? You ever see them? They always want to take a knee at some football stadium, right? But they don't want to take a knee before Jesus. It is absolutely, you have got to, people, I mean, I would think that most white people are quite generous to tolerate black people. They don't board them, put them on a boat and send them back to Africa. Get rid of the problem. They're problems. Send them back. If you had any dealings with them. I mean, here they are, the most progress they have ever made. In the history of their being, they made it right here in America. Yet every day they're out there in the street bitching and moaning about the white man. Bitching and moaning, he this, he that, he did me wrong. But not one of them saying, I want to go. Not one saying, let's all go back to Africa. I mean, at least Marcus Garvey was talking about that at one point in time. Marcus Garvey, the Black Star Line, let's go back home to Africa. All right? And of course, there was Thomas Jefferson, there was James Monroe. President James Monroe put together a flotilla of ships and sent slaves back to Africa. And they founded Liberia and the capital city of Monrovia. I mean, so what I'm saying is not without the potential of having some existence. Some of you who are historically ignorant don't know that people said under President James Monroe, we want to go back home to Africa. And they went back home to Africa. Marcus Garvey, the great leader here from Jamaica here in Harlem, New York, bought 5 major ships called the Black Star Line, go put all black people in America on it and say, we're all going back to Africa. And one of his people that had working for him stopped him. He had a man he trusted, or at least he thought he could trust him. And that man sold him out. And Marcus Garvey ended up in jail. But the point of it, what I'm trying to express is that when you see the black man coming down the street, whether it's Michael Jordan, and the more educated they are, the more you have to hold them accountable. I mean, if white people are so bad, why do you want to live in their neighborhoods? Why do you want to go to their venues and send your children to? Why do you want to send your children to a white school if they're so bad? If white people are so bad, Michael Jordan, Steph Curry, LeBron James. If white people are so bad, why do you want to live around them? And why don't you just take all your money and go on back to Africa? Like Matumbe, they play Houston Rockets, right? The African boy. Man, go back to Africa. I don't care how bad America is. I ain't seen not one of them, not a damn one. Not one of them raise their hand and say, let's all go back to Africa. Heaven and earth will pass away before you get one of these Negroes to say they want to go back home to Africa. They love America. Why? Because it's the best thing that ever happened to them. In spite of all the things and the problems that they create, the disease, the crime, the foolishness, the ignorance. There are major dependents on America and the white man. Now, my job is to set them free. They don't know that, but that's my job with this kind of truth. They'll think about it. Many will think about it, contemplate it. But, you know, I read a proverb the other day that says that discipline is the bridge between goals and success. Let's say, for instance, you have some goals and things that you want to accomplish in life, right? You want to have and in order to get to have those goals, one thing to have those goals, but another thing to actually accomplish them. And the thing the thing that takes you to them is discipline. The last thing that the black or the African American, I'll give Negroes and coloreds, because Marcus Garvey was a part of the Negro group. They had a different mindset. I'll give the Negroes and colored some slack, but the black man, African, this new breed from the that was born after the 1970s, that their mindset is that they hate discipline. For them, discipline is like, when you say discipline or attached to a work ethic, they think slavery. And when you try to show them that this is what has made America great, this is what has made Europe great, is the fact that the people are very disciplined. They're regulatory. Elizabeth and I we landed at Roberts Airfield in Liberia several years ago. We were on the same plane and we got off. And the first lecture that we had there in Monrovia was by this African who was trying to explain the same dilemma that he's having with his people there in Liberia. And Elizabeth will remember this well. And he raised the Greek term eros chronos. And in terms of the time of the chronological time. about when things happen. But what he pointed out about the Africans is that they come when they feel that they do not operate on a chronological understanding. That is to say, they're never on time. Africans just aren't on time. And he laid that thing out. I sat there and I was amazed. He's an African chief, and he's laying it out that Africans don't do things on time. You can tell them 1 o'clock in the afternoon is time we're supposed to meet. They ain't gonna show up at 2 o'clock. And when they show up at 2 o'clock, they will say, well, this is the time that we arrive is the time. And it's really deep. And the way he laid this thing out philosophically with a deep understanding that you can't convince them that they should have been there by 1 o'clock. That was just a time set in an arbitrary way. But it's meaningless to them. The time that they show up is a time that's relevant. Elizabeth Worrell, she'll tell you if you're talking. It was fascinating. The black man doesn't understand time or discipline. Doesn't understand that. And so therefore his work ethic is completely out of line. His ability to meet deadlines, you can forget it, because he is literally like sickle cell anemia. He has a particular disease that prevents him from operating in a larger society of people who understand chronos or the event of time as it absolutely is. And it's a study that was promoted by this particular chief. But the other thing he sees work as slavery or constantly developing himself or working in such a way. You know, anytime you're going to succeed, you're going to drop everything that holds you back, and you're going to rise above your laziness. You're going to rise above your refusal to be taught. You're going to rise above your weaknesses to take a shortcut. You're going to rise above that. And anybody that succeeds, and South Koreans are great at that process. The other thing about him, I think, in terms of when we understand where the world is now and what we're looking at to understand the process, is that though he was never a slave, the sausage brain black man, though he was never a slave, he's always talking about, he has no idea what it is. He doesn't even have an idea what it is to have a good work ethic. The hell with being a slave. He has no idea what it is. And most corporations don't want to hire him because his level of goals and success and work ethics are at the bottom of the pit. So I think it's important for me to understand, or at least explain that, because we need to move forward. What God is doing and what the Lord has sent me to do is to speak these truths, to speak it. And as stinging as it is, that you haven't seen not one of these people out there in the street protesting about going back to Africa. You haven't seen one person in Africa protesting about people who want to come to America. They want to come here. So it is without any explanation. If America is as bad as the black man and African Americans say that it is, then why the hell do you want to be here? Why do you want to be here? One final thing, and I promise not to inflict myself upon you any further. He's blind. Harlem is, years ago, but long before gentrification, I used to talk about Harlem. You know, I'm well-traveled, you know, I'm a world traveler. But not just that, but I observe, you know, Rodeo Drive in California, where the smell of opium and poison perfume permeates the air as you walk by Gucci and all the great shops on Rodeo Drive. Or Collins Avenue in Miami Beach, where you got all these great hotels, the Fontainebleau and a bunch of others. I mean, these auspicious hotels they're on Miami Beach, Collins Avenue. Christmas Eve, during my years, every other car going down Collins Avenue on Christmas Day was a Rolls Royce, when you look at that. Or you look at Fifth Avenue and Madison Avenue here in New York City. But Harlem is the most beautiful community. Even when it was bombed out, I said it, the most beautiful community you can find anywhere. It's streets, it's broadways, it's 7th Avenue, it's Lenox Avenue, it's 8th Avenue. Have these great promenades, 6-lane highways with promenades in between. The sidewalks, if you look at the sidewalk on the west side of our church, it's wider than the sidewalk in front of Donald Trump's building on 5th Avenue. The wide, glowing sidewalks. And then, of course, it's just north of Central Park. You can get on a bus and go to LaGuardia Airport. You're there in 5 minutes. It sits between 3 major airports, Liberty Airport in New Jersey, John F. Kennedy, and LaGuardia Airport. There's no city, and you can walk out your door in Harlem and catch a bus and within 1 block of where you live, or a train. It's a beautiful community. The brownstones are some of the best architected Europeans in terms of building houses. The original formation, our building is extraordinary. One of the more beautiful buildings in the community. The black man couldn't see it. Oh, we'll move out to Jersey, Bergen County. Move up to Mount Vernon. He couldn't see it. He could not see. And the reason why he couldn't see it is because he doesn't have the intellectual strengths sausage brain to interpret how beautiful this community is. So the white man heard me, saw it, came up here, and man, he thinks he's in heaven now. You wonder what the other day, by the way, a couple of years ago, they started wanting to name a part of Harlem Soho, South Harlem or something like that. And Inez Dickinson and Keith Wright and Charles Rankin and a bunch of others say they got together and stopped it. They didn't stop it. They stopped it because I suggested that perhaps there might be a warfare called piss and dung in the restaurants. They instantly dropped it. But the point of it is that even now, he doesn't see how beautiful Harlem is. He doesn't see it. He doesn't see how the gracious living, the beautiful homes. He didn't see it. He still doesn't see it. He's still, Michael Jordan still wants to live with white folk. He's not coming to Harlem because he doesn't have the intellectual strength. Now, I promise not to inflict myself on you any further after this. That the level of his cognitive abilities, when I talk about his sausage brain cognitive, if you will, tension, the level of his cognitive abilities is that he's very good athletically. He's very good. He is extremely good when it comes to the matter of the physical body in terms of his things, in terms of activities such as playing some sort of ball or some sort of a game. He excels. He excels. Whereas you take a Jewish person and put him in a medical school or put him in a lawyer class or put him in and he excels there. But you put him on a basketball court, put the Jewish boy on the basketball court, well, they're going to say white man can't jump. In fact, he even made a movie out of the fact that he's better at jumping. I thought was a disgrace. White men can't jump, but we can. I mean, when you look at the logistics, when you look at the lunacy, and folk in the boardrooms of Wall Street look at these people are fools. But my job is to speak this truth. Now, it isn't easy to receive. I understand that. I understand that clearly. But the Lord has sent me. I am the Lord's servant. Now, I know you've heard me say that. I know you've heard me say it, and you think it's perhaps just another cliche. It's just something to be said. But I don't waste language like that. I don't waste my time like that. I'm truly God's servant. I'm the Lord's servant. I am. You bless me. You bless me, and God will bless you. You curse me, and God will curse you, and there's no mercy. I have been sent by the Lord to speak these truths. You'll never hear Jesse Jackson. I just open up with the fact that if America's so bad, why don't you leave it? If America is so awful, then why are Africans trying to get here? The reason why you won't leave and the reason why they want to get here is because you're lying. It's not what you say America is. America's a great nation. And everybody on the planet wants to get here. Everybody. But it's my job to explain that, to say that, and let that simmer for a while. Let that go out and simmer. And let other people look. And I'll say this, many times if you see a bumper sticker said, if you can read this, thank a teacher. And if you feel safe at night, thank a police officer. And I say to every black man, under your present set of circumstances, left to your own, you be just like all the subcontinents of Africa, barefoot, no clean drinking water. If you were left to your own, without the supervision of the white man in America, Do you think you would be in America if you were left to your own, like Africans are left to their own in Africa, without clean drinking water, without the best of houses and foods to wear, about medical care? You see how it is in Africa? That's how you would be here, were it not for the so-called white man that you hate so much. So next time you see a white man, you ought to walk up to him and thank him and say, my eyes have now been opened by the good, honorable Lord servant, Dr. James David Manning. And the devil has been lying to us for so long. No, God bless America, land that I love. And so when we go forward, and we are going to go forward, and God's going to give me more words to speak, and God's going to bring people to bless me, to stand beside me, and to help me. That's right. I'm James David Manning, everybody. I'm the Lord's servant. This is a bit of a news blog we do, looking at spiritual wickedness in high places for the most part, making some observations about it and giving people a biblical foundation to the way of interpreting, rather than have Sean Hannity or Laura Ingraham or Janine Pirro or Anderson Cooper or Rachel Maddow or Don Lemon, Rush Limbaugh interpret what's going on in the world. You come to me and I'll tell you based on what the Word of God says. They'll just give you their worldly, sinful view. But the Manning Report will tell you what God has said, whether to say yea or nay, whether to go or to stay. You'll be led by the word of Almighty God. Come to the Manning Report on a daily basis to interpret the spiritual wickedness in high places, because there's plenty of it that's going on. And so I'm the Lord's servant, James David Righteous Rebel Manning, and I'm here to serve you with news and information.